Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing another what'll hopefully be straightforward video, and today that's going to be talking about this pair of hearing protection here, which are the RAZR Slims, specifically their passive model, i.e. non-electronic. If you've been watching my videos, if you're a subscriber, you've probably seen that I've been wearing these more and more in some of my videos, and at this point I feel comfortable in giving you my opinion on them. So really quick, let's just go ahead and roll some footage of these things in use, and then we'll talk about my experience with these, this set of hearing protection. So just to give you a quick background of my experience with hearing protection in general, so you can kind of get where my opinions are coming from. I really got my start with hearing protection in the Air Force. I was a crew chief on F-15s and working around fighter jets. You can imagine it gets pretty loud, so we're required to wear hearing protection, typically double hearing protection, anytime we're operating around a running jet or any ground equipment, anything like that. And so I wore hearing protection pretty much daily for very extended periods at times. But anyway, so I've worn hearing protection for many hours, and hence why I'm a fan of the finer things, I guess, in regards to hearing protection. So my experience with these specifically is obviously a lot more recent than that, and I actually got these for free, I should throw that out there, when I was at TriggerCon. At the range day, they were giving out little packs with, you know, safety equipment, hearing protection, eye protection, and all that. And it just so happened that these were the set of hearing protection in each of those bags. So Walkers didn't give this to me directly. I haven't communicated with them, but I didn't pay for these for what that's worth. And honestly, because I typically wear electronic hearing protection, this just kind of sat in the trunk of my car just in case I needed a backup, and I didn't think much more about it. Well, fast forward about a month or two later, I go to the range and my electronic hearing protection I typically wear wasn't in my range bag. So I was like, well, either I could go home or I could wear this headset and see what I think about it. And really right away, I was fairly happy with it. Again, I'm really used to the electronic hearing protection. I'm really used to being able to hear all the ambient sounds going on around me. But I started to really grow attached to just the kind of that passive deadening of the sounds around me. So the range that I typically shoot my videos at is, you know, in a nice rural area. I don't even have cell service out there. So it's like good opportunity for me to kind of get away from things a little bit, and oftentimes I'm the only one using any given range. So I really liked the kind of zen that these allowed me to get into by deadening all the ambient noise. It really just kind of, I don't know, made a more peaceful atmosphere, and I started wearing them more and more and more. Even when I had my electronic hearing protection with me, I started wearing these more and more. So let's just run down some of the features of these. Not too many, as you can probably expect from passive hearing protection, but these things are foldable, so you can collapse them inside the headband, which you know, makes it nice for storage. A lot of range bags that have slots for hearing protection are going to be sized specifically for something like this, so that's really handy. That's one of the nice things about the slim model that these are, is it makes it nice and compact and easy to throw into a range bag or a backpack or anything like that, or the back seat or trunk of your car. Obviously you can unfold them, and then you have quite a range of adjustment here. I have a rather large noggin, and these things fit perfectly fine over my head. They do fit a little bit more snug than my electronic hearing protection, which isn't a bad thing because if anything, my electronic ones fit a little loose. That could be because they're several years old and I've gotten a ton of use out of them, or it could just be that these ones are a little tighter. Either way, I like the security that I feel with these against my ears, especially if I'm shooting like an AK or something like that, where there's a tendency to kind of bump my hearing protection. These stay in place a little bit better. Beyond that, we have some nice soft cups here. Nothing too special about them other than I can say they're comfortable. And then as far as the sound reduction rating, I think, I'll put it on the screen if I'm wrong, but I think it's 27 decibels that these are rated to reduce the noise with. Now, just as a frame of reference, instead of just referencing electronic hearing protection, let me just show you the ones that I typically use. So these are gonna look familiar, again, to anyone watching my channel. These are the Howard Light Impact Sports. I've been using these for many, many years. I've got a headband wrap around these because these are so popular. Every single class I go to, there's at least 2 other people wearing these. So by being able to put my name on it has helped me differentiate them, especially because I like to keep fresh batteries in mine. Other people don't, so I hate it when I accidentally swap with someone and I have dead batteries. But these have been what I've been wearing almost all the time when I'm on the range for years and years and years. I'm a really big fan of them. But again, once I kind of found myself in a predicament where I didn't have them, I started to wear these more. Now, let's talk about pros and cons from passive to electronic hearing protection. So first, let's talk about electronic hearing protection. I think that these are very, very well suited for anywhere where you have to have the ability to hear clearly range commands. So any sort of class, like a safety class, a training class, if you're in a group of people, anything like that, it is very, very valuable to be able to clearly hear conversation level sounds around you. If you're in a kind of sketchy, quote unquote, sketchy area, shooting in a rock quarry or kind of out in the boonies or anything like that, I like to have situational awareness and being able to hear a truck drive up, even if it's for no nefarious reason, if I at least know it's there and can be aware of my surroundings, electronic hearing protection is really nice. Some of the downsides, even with the microphones turned off, you don't get the same amount of noise reduction as you do most passive hearing protection. There are probably some that are rated terribly, but these will not get as quiet as most passive headphones, including these walkers here. Some of the other cons, if the batteries die, you're kind of stuck. They have good battery life. It's really not that big of a deal, but if they do die, you're kind of stuck. One of the other nice things, before I forget, at least these ones in particular have a little headset jack, so you can actually plug these into your phone and be listening to music. In fact, when my girlfriend started getting into shooting, I bought her a set of these, and a lot of times she'll use them when she's using a lawnmower and be able to listen to music while she's using the lawnmower, and you know, it all kind of works out like that. So that is a nice feature of these. So let's talk about passive hearing protection. Pros, you get a lot more sound reduction from something like this, really most passive hearing protection, than you do electronic. Again, I think these are around 27, whereas off the top of my head, these Impact Sports, I think are like 22 or something like that, which doesn't sound like a lot, but the way the decibel ratings work, it's a pretty significant difference. Other pros, they're a lot more affordable generally. Now the Impact Sports aren't super expensive, but passive ear protection is usually going to be significantly cheaper, especially if you're looking at things in the same range of sound reduction. So these are far more affordable, and I'll touch more on that in a second. But downsides, you lose a lot more of that situational awareness. If you're in a class, you miss a lot of those range commands, and that can create a more unsafe environment. But that being said, if you go to a private range where you have lanes or bays or even entire ranges all to yourself, that's not always necessary. And especially if you're someone like me who ends up taking people shooting quite frequently, you don't want to spend, you know, however much it is to stock up on 3 or 4 or 5 of these in case you go with someone who doesn't have hearing protection already. It can be a lot more easy to justify picking up a couple sets of passive hearing protection that you can then loan out as necessary. So let me get into that. These MSRP for $29.99, at least that's what it says on the Walker's website, and most of those big box retailers that like to charge MSRP for whatever reason. However, I have found these specifically on Amazon for down near $19.99. I'll include a link down in the description where you can find these. It says it's currently on sale, so I don't know if they're always going to be that price, but odds are you're going to find it cheaper there than you would at Cabela's or Dick's Sporting Goods or any of those garbage places. So you can usually find these for a very, very reasonable price, and a price where I can now afford to, you know, pick up an extra set, keep it in my car in case I leave my good ones at home, or in case I'm going out with someone who's a new shooter, and I can give them something that's not going to be a giant pain in the butt for them to be able to wear. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen those, you know, giant Peltors that, you know, especially in the Air Force when we were working the flight line, we had these giant hearing protection on, and it was good for reducing sound, but it was uncomfortable to wear. It was heavy, it was bulky, and especially when you're shooting a gun and trying to get a cheek weld, having those big giant ear cups can be kind of a pain. I can feel comfortable lending someone a pair of these for the day. They're going to be comfortable the entire time. They're going to have good sound reduction the entire time, which is typically, especially for a new shooter, going to make them a lot more comfortable in that environment. So while I still would prefer, generally speaking, electronic hearing protection, if you're looking for a backup or even just a good way to upgrade from, you know, the little foamies that you stick in your ear, or from those big giant, you know, cans of hearing protection, these Walker RAZR Slims, again, the passive version, I think are a really good option. Again, I didn't pay for them. Walker's not paying me to say this, but I didn't want to like them because I didn't want to even use them, but I've actually been really impressed by them, and I like them quite a bit, and I still wear them fairly frequently. They do make electronic hearing protection. In fact, one of the local gun stores to me, the owner has one of the electronic hearing protection sets from Walker's, and he loves them. It was his first set of electronic ones. He seems to be a huge fan of them. I haven't used them, so I can't speak to that, but I do know they have quite a few different lines of hearing protection, both the passive as well as electronic realms. That being said, I'm also a big fan of these Peltor Impact Sports. I know they have a couple. They have like a newer version, I think the Bolts now, which I haven't tried yet. But I'm also a big fan of electronic hearing protection. Again, especially if you're taking any sort of training class, it is very, very valuable. But I think that's all there is to really say about this. That's probably much longer than most of you probably anticipated when you clicked on a hearing protection video review. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you have any direct experience with these headphones or anything from Walker's, go ahead and throw those in the comment section down below, especially if you've used some of their electronic ones. Definitely let me know what you think. Again, these things are getting pretty beat up now, so it's probably time for me to upgrade to something else here soon without spending like $300 on the comm tax or anything crazy like that. So if you have experience with those, and especially if you like them, definitely let me know down below. But if you've used these ones specifically, definitely let me know what you think, and that way other people who are watching this video can go down to the comments and see what other people say about them, so they're not just getting my opinion. Want to throw a quick shout out to my patrons for making videos like this one possible. Without their support, I wouldn't have been able to afford to go up to TriggerCon to even get these in the first place, let alone get out, spend the time on the range actually putting these into use and putting, you know, rounds down range to test out guns and other fun accessories. We post all the content there early. We do live streams, we do giveaways, we have a Discord server set up. So if any of that interests you, or you just want to be financially supportive of the channel, definitely check out my Patreon page. But anyway, with all that said, as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.